Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Lori, and welcome to Universally Unique, exploring the neurodiverse world of the extraordinary. This podcast fosters curiosity and understanding about neurodiversity while empowering individuals with tools for acceptance and inclusion in classrooms, the workplace, and communities. Featuring shared stories of neurodiverse life experiences, it sheds light on navigating a world not designed for diversity. Universally Unique starts now. Hi, welcome to Universally Unique. Today I have Dr. Jess Gregory with me to discuss her experiences as an individual who is neurodiverse. As is our tradition, we will start with taking 3 breaths before I jump in and start asking her some questions. So we'll do 3 box breaths. I'll count for you. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. So hopefully everyone's feeling relaxed. So, Dr. Gregory, hopefully it's okay for me to call you Jess.
You better call me Jess.
I better call you Jess. And so what I would like to start with is if you would just give us a little bit of an overview of your journey as an individual who is neurodiverse, which I suspect will be woven in with a variety of educational experiences, and you'll share with us where you are now and what you're doing.
So I didn't know I was neurodiverse until I got to college, and I was in a physics class, and my professor, Dilo Mook, noticed that while I was doing great and everything, I was not performing well on the quizzes. And during one of the quizzes, he saw that I was turning all sorts of fun colors. And so he pulled me aside and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "I just can't do these quizzes. Like, I can tell you all about it, but I never get the right answers on the quizzes." And so he had me tell him all about it. And he's like, "I want to refer you to someone." And so they did the testing and found dysgraphia and dysnomia. And so here I am at 18, 19 years old, just figuring out who I am. And now I have another layer to figure out, like dysgraphia, dysnomia. What do you mean learning disabled? I got into an Ivy League school. I was in the top of my class. Like, how does this make sense? And it didn't make sense at all. And so I struggled quite a bit with that while I was in school, because I was like, what the fluff? I don't know. And so fast forward, as I became an educator, I realized that I was finding it easier to reach students who hadn't found success. And I attribute a lot of that to, I don't think the same way that other people think. And so what hasn't worked for students in the past isn't the way I was doing it anyways. So, okay, that's a win. And so when I talk to my students now, and my students now are educators who want to be leaders, and we talk about, neurodiversity, and I talk about my exceptionalities as sort of my superpower. And we have the discussion about how, that's wonderful when it works, but it sometimes diminishes the challenges that come with it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I hear you. And I don't think that I'm intending to diminish the challenges some people face with their neurodiversity. But for me, it's definitely my superpower.
Could you explain to us, besides the fact that you recognize that other learners don't operate exactly the same? I think, I'm a special educator by training, so I've never thought that all learners learn the exact same way. But how has that impacted how you are helping the students in your classes now understand that, it takes a lot to harness that superpower? I'm having this sort of vision of a superhero in a movie where sometimes that superpower is super and other times it's a problem.
Right? If we could, quote Stan Lee from Final Fantasy 15 in 1962, where we get to meet Spider-Man and we learn that with great power must also come great responsibility. And so I guess some of that is shoveling through the mix of knowing that that's on page 6 of the comic book. Like, that's not important information. So sometimes you have to dig through a lot of extra stuff. But when it comes to planning for my classes to respect all learners, or each learner really is better, it's making sure there's multiple ways to do things. And so when I'm teaching, we have when we're teaching online, we have the back channel in the chat. We have a shared notes document that we're all using because, we can all work together to find success. There's no competition. No one needs better notes than anyone else. If everyone has the best notes, we all win.
Yep.
And verbally. And so if someone isn't comfortable sharing their thoughts out loud, they can put them in the chat. They can put them in the shared document. The chat's usually for the things where they're not sure they want it to be immortalized in the shared notes. But then sometimes they'll get praise or likes or thumbs up or hearts in the chat. And then all of a sudden you see it in the shared notes. So they were just sort of testing it out. And it creates a community where we're all working together and we're all creating these shared notes together. So if someone's saying something in the meeting and someone else likes it, then all of a sudden it's going into the shared notes. And the shared notes are structured with the questions I'm going to ask. So if it takes you longer to process the ideas, or you want to know what we're going to be pulling out of the reading because you want to read something multiple times, where we're going. There's no surprises. We're not going to flip the amygdala, flip someone's lid in class. So right at the beginning of class, for several weeks before class, they know every question that's going to be asked, every discussion prompt that we're going to go through. And we may drift a little, but they know the big ones. So it sort of keeps that stress level down.
Do you find, though, that initially they're confused by all of that? That you've tried to head them off from stress, but they're so accustomed to being stressed that they can't figure out what you're doing?
Yeah, well, that's where we start in the first class, building a Spotify playlist for, sort of chilling out. And so they put in the shared document this low stakes thing, like a song and an artist of a song that just makes them chill. And then when they're in their first breakout group, that turns into I turn that into a Spotify playlist. And so before the end of the first class, they have a chill out playlist to listen to. But also the stakes were so low as they engaged with the process of class to begin with, that by the time they finish the first class, they're all in. So originally, when this first happened, when I was first using this before the pandemic, there's our supervisor, Sophie. Before the pandemic, we were using shared notes even when we were in person. And so there it was easier because I could scaffold it where I was able to walk around and make sure everybody was comfortable and everybody was in the same place. But with the pandemic, people are more comfortable using technology. So they know how to do a lot of the tech parts where using a shared document isn't new anymore.
Good. And I would anticipate that their ability to do that within the classroom with you translates hopefully to their ability to do that in the classrooms that they're teaching in. Hopefully they can generalize that information.
Yeah. If I do my job well, educators in the future will not be tortured by bad professional development.
I hope so.
Although that's why I do what I do.
That is always an issue. So you mentioned a professor when you were doing your undergraduate degree. Would you describe that person as being one of your cheerleaders? Or are there others? Not that person, but maybe other people?
I mean, Dilo, he was awesome and fun and hep. Sorry, she's scratching at me. There we go.
Oh.
Okay. You can edit that out or not, whatever.
It's real life.
It's real life. And so the thing is, I might have stopped taking physics. So when I thought I wanted to be a nuclear physicist, it was super important that I was doing well in physics. But once I was no longer going to be a nuclear physicist, then that really didn't matter anymore. And I didn't actually share what I was going through with a lot of people when I was in school. I didn't know how to process it.
Yeah.
So while I disclose right at the get with my educators who are in my classes and with other people on campus, I didn't know who I was when I was in college. I hadn't processed any of this. I was really struggling with the identity piece of what it meant to have exceptionalities.
Well, and finding that out when you've now moved away from home and you're trying to just be like a young adult who's moved away from home, and then you get a pretty significant piece of information about yourself, and probably something that I would anticipate that even when you might have called home and shared this information with your family, they were like, huh? You were so good at school. What do you mean? Right. Why did they tell you
all the feelings of like, why didn't anybody notice before? Like, why did it take so long for someone to notice?
Why do you think that was?
Oh, because there were tons of strategies that I had developed that I didn't know I had developed. Mm-hmm. I remember being in typing and I would look at the keys. I still look at the keys when I type, but she would put at first she would just be like, oh, okay. And so she would move the document. She'd be like, okay, well, you have to do this. Well, so I would memorize the page really quickly and then look at my fingers and type. And so all of her normal strategies for how to get someone to learn how to type weren't working because I would just memorize the page so I could stare at it, because she was trying to she had lots of things. Finally, she ended up throwing a dish towel over my hands.
I'm surprised she didn't throw a dish towel over your head.
I'm not the easiest kid to have in class.
Well, I think the other thing that kind of goes with all of that is when information is given to you the way that works for you, you process information like a computer. You can take enormous chunks of information and process them very quickly when it is delivered to you in a modality that works for you, much faster than everyone else. So the other people in the room are still, standing in the dirt trying to figure out what you're talking about. This is a personal experience of mine.
Yeah, for everyone watching, Lori was on my dissertation committee. So sorry, Lori.
Well, and we were also research partners for a while. And I would sit there for like 20 minutes trying to figure out what you said 20 minutes before, because it was the ideas came so quickly, and the ability to integrate information came so quickly when it was delivered to you correctly.
Patterns, looking for patterns, seeing changes in patterns, fitting things together that other people don't always see fitting together. Like that definitely works for me. And I think a lot of that is because sometimes I need to see the pattern because I can't get there the direct route.
No, that makes sense. And I think we are finding as a society that there are more and more individuals that we live with and potentially in close proximity to, either in the workplace or at home, who see things much differently than we do, and recognizing how to find the place where we we find balance and we can understand. Could you explain that to me? And, on the other side, could you explain to me why you're so linear and you can't see all these other things that are going on at the same time?
I usually go with, can you put more words around that? I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Because can you put more words around it? Doesn't put the other person on the defensive. If I go with, I don't understand, what are you trying to say? Then all of a sudden they're like, well, what do you mean you don't understand?
Yeah.
As opposed to, can you just put some more words around that? I want to make sure I understand you. Then they're not on the defensive and they're usually really happy to just keep talking.
And I think, as time goes on and as we are seeing the numbers of individuals who are neurodiverse increasing rapidly, people who are probably already out there and folks just didn't necessarily recognize that they were out there. I'm seeing a number of individuals that I know personally who are getting diagnosed as adults, even later than their experiences in college. But beyond that bachelor's degree, you have 2 other degrees.
That's
3,
true.
technically. 3, 4.
I don't know. Whatever. I went to
a bunch. A few. Well, in the state of Connecticut, there's that in between
the 6
master's and a doctoral program. So technically, you probably have 3 more degrees since that bachelor's. Did you find in those other programs that this was as much of a challenge, or had the funnel narrowed down enough to the topic that it wasn't as big of a challenge?
It wasn't so much. I guess it really wasn't much of a challenge. And so my path was a wandering one. After my undergrad, I went into toy advertising in New York City. And it turns out I don't really love that. I like advertising, but it basically was lying to little kids. And I'm not a big fan. So when I came back to Connecticut, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, oh, well, you know what? You don't know what to do, go to grad school. So I needed to take organic chemistry because I hadn't done that, and a genetics class, whatever. And I was making money by substitute teaching. But the key piece is there. I saw organic chemistry as a puzzle where no one's showing you the box. And so you just have to memorize the pieces. Everybody else was freaking out. And I'm just like, oh, well, no, we don't know what the puzzle looks like. We get to make our own. And so you just fit the pieces together. And I was just chill and relaxing and having fun with it. And everybody else was freaking out. I don't know that was my exceptionality or the pattern seeing, or just because I'm weird and like chemistry now, but I didn't know that when I went in.
Well, you said in the typing class, you could look at a page and remember the information. Memorization is super helpful in organic chemistry.
Oh yeah, because you don't know what the pieces are, which is kind of weird because in the real world, you can always look that up. Right? There's no reason that people actually have to memorize the functional groups, because you could just have the functional groups on cards sitting on your desk the whole time. But that's just,
Yeah. Well, I think we are starting to figure out that some of the things that we ask students to memorize did not necessarily have a value. I mean, for the people who could memorize really well, that worked out just fine. But for people who were not very good memorizers and who needed to be able to take the information and be able to use it, it was very difficult. Yeah, that more hands-on piece.
Education's changed too, Lori. I mean, when you get right down to it, when we ask what we want students to be able to do, it's not spit back information. What we want them to be able to do is apply it to novel situations. Yeah. And so I actually think that, can we do a little diversion?
Absolutely.
The growth of artificial intelligence is emphasizing that in education, is that what we need as educators to rely on is our relationships and our transparency, radical transparency of why we want someone to learn something and why we want them to be successful with this particular task. Like, why am I giving you this assignment? It's because this is what this assignment is going to do for you. So please don't outsource this to artificial intelligence, because you're just going to rob yourself. So in that respect, I think we always could have been saying those things. And when we post an objective on the board as an educator, we're sort of doing that. But sometimes educators don't even know the why behind their tasks. So it requires us to all think about the why behind our tasks and explicitly, how are we going to meet the needs of each student, right? If I am building a task, I don't have the, well, it's going to take too much time to differentiate excuse, because now it doesn't take too much time anymore to differentiate. Like we have those, we have the supports available to us.
There's a great use for AI. Use it to do that, but don't ask your students to stop thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, as with so many things, there's a time and a place, and thinking and relationship building really should be, in my opinion, I agree with you, the foundation of education. We ask people to learn all kinds of things that have really no value. And how many times do students, especially students in middle school and high school, say to the teacher, why do I need this?
Why do I need this? Right?
And the teacher doesn't have an answer. Except, wow, isn't it really fun to do this, whatever this subject is?
And it isn't for everybody. I get it.
But it is for the people who like it, but it's not.
Experiments aren't always fun for other people, but they were always fun for me. But I mean, the why always seemed important. So, when we were doing density, we were doing it with hands-on, like, hey, let's make sure that your necklace, back when I was teaching chemistry, the gold necklaces were very in vogue. And you can use the density of the necklace by just doing displacement, which you do really early in chemistry, to see whether it's actually what it is, like what it claims to be. So it had relevance, right?
A lot more interesting. Yeah.
So, that teaching students who hadn't experienced success previously and making sure that the relevance, the real reasons they might actually need this, that is why I feel successful as an educator.
Yeah. And I think even when students didn't necessarily always understand some of the things that were going on, when you went to a lab, it got to be hands-on, and sometimes you got to do fun things, even though you may or may not remember exactly what the principles and all the information was about it. But you remember, I remember my chemistry teacher set our desk on fire. I believe that was one of your tricks, wasn't it?
My guess is when you were taking chemistry, though, the math came first and the lab was sort of the culminating experience. If you flip that around, so the practical experience is first, even if it's in a limited way, and then you try to explain it together, and then you put the math as sort of the tool we use to just sort of explain what we already know, it gets a lot easier for everybody.
Yeah, there's so many things that I did not do well, and if it was flipped around, I probably would have been fine. So tell me what you're looking forward to as your career continues on, because you definitely have a lot more to contribute to the world of education or to the world as a whole. I know you have some side hustles that you're doing that are exciting. So what are you looking forward to?
So I'm department chair, and I recently became program coordinator. And so being program coordinator, there's the opportunity to do stronger advising and make sure that the students, even though they're graduate students, feel more comfortable in the program and with their own development. And I think that that's overlooked in graduate education, and that they don't always have that space to sort of see, well, what does it mean to be in this leadership program? What do you mean I'm a leader now just because I'm in the program? That doesn't make a lick of sense. So embedding those opportunities to do some reflection, but also program evaluation, the ongoing thing we want to do just to make sure we're doing the best job we can. I love that. I want to speak math all the time.
I do not want to speak it at all.
Right. But doing program evaluation, you get to sort of lean on the almost customer satisfaction models.
Yep.
And, making sure that students are getting what they want out of the program, but also that employers are seeing our candidates as the strongest candidates that they could hire. So that makes our program more valuable.
Yeah.
Side hustle being my pottery. So I get to use my chemistry to make my own glazes, and that's kind of
Ooh.
awesome. And so you guys are in my pottery studio right now. And yeah, so I would say those are my fun things.
So
Also teaching in artificial intelligence classes.
oh, that sounds interesting. Um, so the pottery, and I think you have a couple of other things that you kind of do to reboost your energy and relax and restore and maintain balance.
Yes. Was there a question, Laura?
Yeah, that was kind of.
You just
So what else? I'm sorry, I should have said, and what else do you do besides that?
Oh, gotcha. Yoga and Pilates, and I'm not super awesome at either of those, and that's kind of why I do them, because they're a practice and you just keep trying to get better at it. I recently added Zumba to the mix, and anybody who has familiarity with dysgraphia, dysnomia, and its friends might know that you frequently lose the beat in music, in Western music. With those, and I frequently lose the beat in music, and so it's an extra challenge, and so the whole room is going one way and I'm just going the other way, and sometimes the instructor is like looking at me like, hey Jess, and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, we're having fun. So
when everybody goes left and you go right, that's not what you're supposed to do. That was always my issue with those classes.
In Zumba,
yeah,
there's limbs flailing about. But I am getting better at left and right over time. So I wear my watch on my right hand. And I did that ever since I was learning how to drive. When I was learning how to drive, I had to know right and left, and I'm not good at that. So I would tighten my watch so it hurt a little. Not a strategy I recommend. But when the driving instructor said turn right, I knew which way was right. So.
No, but again, and you figured out a strategy before anybody told you that you didn't, the reason why you didn't know left and right so well.
Right hand over your heart only works when you don't do this. So,
yeah. So, well, I think we could probably talk for a significantly longer period of time, but we are actually, running out of time. I don't know if you have any thoughts that you would like to share with folks as they are coming in contact with folks that are neurodiverse, like ways, just a little hint or a little tidbit of this would be a nice way to approach folks.
I think the best way to approach any folks is to, I'll lean on Brene Brown here and just go with people are doing the best they can with the tools they have right then. And so, just treating everyone with grace.
Yeah. And helping them maybe to learn some grace for themselves. Because I think that many folks that are neurodiverse are probably much harder on themselves than anybody else could ever be. So, well, thank you so much. I very much appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. And I suspect that I may come back and have you come and talk about some other things in the future. But if anyone is trying to reach me, they can reach me through two things. One, through my website, which is nodoholisticconsulting.com, or through email at nodoconsulting2002@gmail.com. So have a wonderful day, and thank you all for listening. Thank you for listening to Universally Unique, exploring the neurodiverse world of the extraordinary. Join me, Dr. Lori, on Transformation Talk Radio every second and fourth Monday at 11:30 Pacific Time as we continue to explore navigating a world not designed for diversity. For advocacy and support for individuals with disabilities, let's connect. Learn more about consulting and life coaching at nodoholisticconsulting.com.